All right, we are live again today, um, the second week of October, and we have another interesting show for you out there. Today, we want to go through stuff quick so that we can proceed with whatever we have planned for the rest of the day. So I know you're busy people, and we don't want to take your time for that much longer than we have to. And also, we are coming away earlier than we usually do. We usually come at 5 Eastern Standard Time in the US and 9 GMT. But it's earlier today because of some issues beyond our control. But all the same, we're still going to hit the very important reasons why we are here. And if you have looked at our schedule, you know, or if you watched last show, we told you that we'll be talking about wealth, health, and all that. So today we are going to do just that, and we want you to have a relaxing time. Just make sure if you just join in, hit the share and the like buttons so that other people can see the stream and join us as much as possible. Also, I want you to please hit the like or the thumb, the thumb up, and whatever you do, you know what you do when you watch shows on Facebook, YouTube, or wherever you're watching me from. Do that so that we will get a lot of people watching. It's better that way than to have just you and I enjoying ourselves. All right. So as I speak, I'm trying to share more across the various platforms. So if you haven't, join me and let's do that as much as possible right now. All right. And with that being said, we are going to go straight to our outline. Make sure you participate. In other words, bring your comments, bring questions when necessary, and let's have a conversational show today. All right. So that's it for intro. Again, welcome to the Life and Health Show of Dayspring Life and Health channel. I also want to remind you if you haven't subscribed to our channel on YouTube, make sure you do that because you are missing out. All you are seeing is live shows, but we have several other videos recorded, videos on health, on life issues. And we have over 1,000 subscribers now. Thanks to the recent subscribers, I want to give a shout out to all those who have subscribed to our YouTube channel on Dayspring Life and Health. And because of what you did recently, we have hit and passed the 1,000 subscriber mark. So if you are watching and you haven't subscribed, please do the honor and make sure you do that right after the show, and so that you won't miss anything that we have out there. There's tons of videos about several health issues, diabetes, blood pressure, depression, stress, a lot of stuff. For men's health issues, we have videos about impotence, how to, be a man again. You know what I'm saying? Man out there. All those things are videos that are on our channel on Spring Life and Health. So if you haven't subscribed, you are missing out. You're just getting a view of our live shows, but there's more information, more videos on our channel. So do try and go to the YouTube channel. If you're watching from YouTube, you just have to click subscribe. But if you're watching from any other source, make sure you do just that. That way you will not miss out. Moreover, that will also help you to see when we are live. All right. All right. So let's go on to today's show. And we're saying that, let me just share what it is here first. So the topic for our discussion is stop generational poverty and disease. Stop generational poverty and disease, or how to stop generational poverty and disease. And we call this one an episode one because we couldn't have this huge topic in just one show. It would take hours. We don't want to take all of your time today on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. So we're just going to one aspect, basically lots of definitions and, an introductory part of this huge discussion. And then subsequent weeks, or maybe even this week, if we have time during the week, we will hit on more of the subject. So it's going to be episode on an episode basis. We're going to continue this topic for a while until we feel like we have exhausted it. So, how to stop generational poverty and disease. That is basically what we're going to talk about. How to stop generational poverty and disease. All right. So, according to our show outlines that we usually do, before that, we want to talk about some news out there that is going on in terms of health and life issues. Now, the first one is that there are early reports of flu outbreak in several states in the U.S. Especially in the South, in Texas, in the Midwest area, and as well as recent news reports, some outbreaks in some counties in California. So flu is coming up big time. According to the CDC, or the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, this year is going to look like a bad year for the flu. We've taken a break for a while, and this year we may not get that break that we usually get from flu. So that is what is happening out there. And along with the flu, there are also other respiratory diseases that are increasing. Your common colds are increasing, of course, pneumonia, and also respiratory syncytial virus. All those respiratory diseases are increasing, and we want to make sure that we are protected. So that is the news on health. If you haven't, uh, as a matter of fact, because of that, there's more hospitalizations already from the flu, and the reason that this is happening is that we used to wear mask for the past 2 years or so. Mask wearing have become something that is a norm. But for now, because of the waning effects of COVID, because most people have been vaccinated, COVID is no longer as strong, a danger as it was before. Many people are putting away their masks, and because the masks are away, exposure to the flu virus is increasing, of course, because we are not covering ourselves like we used to anymore. So, all mask use and social distance helped, but right now, because it's reduced, we have increased exposure. And also, because we wore masks for a long time, our immunity to the flu waned because nobody was getting sick for the past two years, 2019, 2020, and 2021, basically. Most people didn't get flu. So our immunity to flu virus has gone down. And so right now that the flu is showing up, it's showing up big time. That's why there's more hospitalizations. More people are going to be admitted for the flu virus this year. So that's the news out there in terms of health front. Now the CDC again is warning of severe flu outbreak for this year, and the only way you can beat that is to get a flu shot. In my area of work, we have been given flu shots like we have never done before. And in America, people do understand what it takes to protect themselves. So when they see the news that people are getting sick, they run to get the flu shot. So people are getting the COVID booster, the new bivalent COVID booster shot, and they make appointments to get the flu shot at the same time. So most people are getting flu and COVID shots at the same time, especially older folks over 60 and the rest. They are not playing, and I don't blame them. You don't want to stay up, protect yourself, be alive through this pandemic, which we just passed, hopefully, and then die of the flu. It's of no use. So if you haven't had the flu shot, I'm begging you through this medium, go get your flu shot. For most people with insurance, it is free, and so it is good for you. Just get a flu shot and then get it over with. Don't think about it anymore. And then if you meet the flu, even if you get the flu, it wouldn't be as strong. You may not end up in hospital. You may not die. So now let's hit the last week review. So on last week, if you remember, those of you who were here, if you were not here, you can go back to our channel again on Dayspring Life and Health and hit on that video and watch it. It was a very interesting discussion with a nurse, an emergency room nurse specialist, who told us a lot of things that we actually don't or what we take for granted. And among those things, we want to hit them right quick as a reminder. Today, we are, as we started it earlier, we are talking about how to stop generational poverty, and disease. And this is episode one because this is huge. So we're going to break this down over weeks, and we're going to have guests come in and talk over this with me. But we want to do the first things. We're going to do some definitions, what all these things, what this topic actually means, what the keywords are, and then from there we'll go into the real business of how to stop generational poverty and generational diseases. All right. So, what is generational poverty and what is generational disease? Um, I did a little reading, and generational. If you say generational, if you don't take care, you that's just one generation. So, in this discussion, when you see generational, I also mean transgenerational, passed on from one generation to the other. So, I'm going to use that those two keywords interchangeably. So, if I say generational, it also means transgenerational. So, from one generation to the next. So maybe my generation, so the people born in my generation, and then transferring that, if it is poverty, transferring to the people after me. God forbid though, that I transfer poverty, right? No way, no transfer of poverty by me. All right, so basically that's what we mean. And the same way when we say transgenerational disease or transgenerational disease, we're also referring to the same thing. Diseases of generation that are also sent to the next generation. And again, I hope you don't do that. But this is why we are going to do this discussion so that if you have anything, you can put a stop to it before it is too late. All right. Now, so let's move on. What is poverty? When we say generational, transgenerational poverty, what does poverty itself mean? And poverty is the state of being extremely poor. So you could be poor, but you are not in poverty yet. But once you hit poverty, it means that you're being that poor situation you are is now extreme. Hey, we got to be careful here. And that is why some people are okay with what they are. They are poor, but they are not in poverty yet. They are not extremely poor. So you can be poor, but not extreme. Once it is extreme, then we can refer to your situation as poverty. That's what we call abject poverty. Poverty that, if I could use another language, poverty that is like, it has no means of breaking free, right? Poverty that is deep, you know. And this poverty, extreme poverty, or this kind of poverty, does not only affect individuals. In fact, it has affected some. It has affected some. Nations. Some nations are generally very poor because of the way they are. So generational poverty can affect individuals. Extreme poverty is what we are talking about. So you may be poor, right? You can easily get out of being poor, but if you hit poverty, you are in extreme poor situation. How do you know that you are poor? How do you know that you are even poor? You know, uh, most people don't think they are poor, right? But the way I'm going to show you today that if you want to know you are poor, especially by where you live, and then there's something called poverty line. So in every society, maybe every nation, every county, every state, there's a line that can be drawn, and a poverty line is a minimum level of income needed to secure the necessities of life. So in that particular nation, that particular state, may have a line of with a number. That's it. That if you don't make any money above this line, then you are considered poor because you are living below this amount. So that is how you can tell. So where I live in Connecticut, in the U.S. So in Connecticut, there is a poverty line, and federal poverty line in Connecticut from March 2022 to 2023 is that for a family of one person, if I live alone and I'm working for myself or whatever, I must make more than $13,590. So in this state where where I'm broadcasting from, if you live alone, no family, just you don't make more than $590, you are considered poor because you are living below the poverty line. So that's how you can tell if you are poor or not. So if you are thinking you are rich, go and look at the poverty line in your state or in the nation where you live at. And if you are below, stop calling yourself rich, right? I hope you are not below. I hope you are not below. But if you're below, then you know that hey, you were just talking for talking sake. You don't have any money. In other words, you are not making enough to secure the necessities of life, like clothing, food, shelter, gas, those little things, heating your house so that you don't live in cold. Anything that you need, your TV, just the minimum. You can't make that, then you are in poverty line. So for a family of two in Connecticut, for the year 2022, it is 18,310. So if you have a wife or a husband and you have no child, if you make less than $18,310, you are under the poverty line. You are poor. So I just want you to have a perspective of where you are, because if you don't know you are poor, remember our last one of our shows, we said that you have to know whether you have a problem before you can even make a move to leave the problem. If you don't know you have a problem, then there's no solution for you because you don't even know you have a problem. So if you don't know you are poor, then going to talk about how to stop generational poverty won't make any meaning to you. That's why we want to bring this up. So check first to see if you and your wife, or you alone, or you and your family with your kids, whether you are poor or not. And that's how you find out. So whatever country you are watching me from, just Google the poverty line and see if your income matches up to that, or if it's more than that, if it's below. Some people are just making it. Some people are just a little above. We can do something about that. But at least you got to know where you're coming from. So poverty in Connecticut, but this year is a family of two, 18,300, and a family of three is $23,000. An approximation 23,000. If you have a wife or you have a husband and you have one child, you must make not less than 23. I'm not saying you are rich if you make more than this, unless you make multiples of this. But if you at least make this, we say that you may be poor, but you're not in poverty. Remember, we defined the difference between poverty and being poor. So you may be poor, but not really in poverty. So that is 23,000 for a family of three, and for a family of four in Connecticut is 27,750. So we can approximate that to 27,800, right? So that is how you find out poverty line is a yardstick for whether or not you are poor. And if you are watching me right now, I want you to just take a quick, number check on Google wherever you live. Check poverty line in, say, the state of Alabama, poverty line in, say, Ghana, poverty line in India, wherever you're from, just see and then ask yourself if what you're making is up to that number. If not, then you are poor. You are living in abject poverty. And so this talk is very important for you to stick to watching the episodes that we're going to have over a period of weeks, because we want to make sure that we lift people out of poverty, generational poverty, and generational. All right, so that is that for what poverty is, poverty line is. Now, what is generational poverty? Poverty that is extending beyond one generation. Simple as that. If your mom and dad were living under the poverty line, and their generation, that's how they all were, and you are in a new generation. You are the children of your mother. If your poverty is resembling those, it means that you are in a generational poverty, transgenerational. That's from one generation to the next generation. And God forbid, if you also transfer it to your children, or if your children don't make enough, just like you are not, you're also sending that poverty to them. And so that is what we call transgenerational poverty. All right. So one generation onto the other. Now, let's come to the disease part, because our topic is how to stop generational poverty and disease, right? So, what is generational disease? Generational disease is basically a disease is a disorder that produces specific signs and symptoms. And in this regard, we can call it in the body. We're talking about health, right? So a disease is a disorder that produces specific signs and symptoms in the body. But I want to tell you a caveat here. You can have a disease of character. It may not just be your body. Some people they have diseases of character. In other words, they have a disorder in character. disorder in education, disorder in marriage. So diseases can take several forms, but in this discussion, we want to say that disease is a disorder in the body, something that produces signs. People can tell that something is wrong. It is not something that happened as a result of an accident or an injury. No, that one isn't a disease. That one can also have its own meaning or its own implication on your life. But when we say, we mean something that happened naturally in your body and leading to a sign or disorder that anybody can look at you and tell. Or even if not you, at least you will know you're sick. All right. And in similar ways, if it's transgenerational, if it is passed on from one generation to the other, if you are sick with diabetes, as a parent or father or mother, you have diabetes, and you treat it yourself and all that, and you give birth to children who also have diabetes, and they are not able to break free from diabetes, it becomes transgenerational. Now, somebody will call it genetic, right? But whether it's genetic or not all diseases are genetic. So, in this regard, we say that all diseases, whether genetic or not, can be transgenerational. Because if you have a disease sort of the way you live your life at home, and your children, copy the same and also get sick along the same line. It's transgenerational disease, but it may not have anything to do with your genes. All right, so all inclusive in this regard here. So that is transgenerational disease. It's one disease that is passed on from one generation to the next, whether by genes or by choices, I should say. So, how do you know you have a generational disease? Kind of like, how do you know you are poor or you are living in poverty? For diseases, as simple as diagnostics. I mean, if you get checked and you are sick, you are sick. It's objective. Your doctor can tell you have this, so that you will know if it is there or not. But as to whether or not it's transgenerational or intergenerational, that you would have to go back and look. Did my mom or dad have this disease? Did my grandmother have that disease? Let's use a disease, a classic example as breast cancer, right? We know it's passed from generations to generations. So if you have diagnostics that tells you that you have breast cancer, you can see if it is from passed on from prior generations. So that becomes transgenerational. And that's what we're going to talk about, how to break free from all those things. That's where we're going to go in our future discussions. But I want to make sure that at least we are on the same page as far as definitions are concerned. And apart from diagnostics, you can also find out information. Your mother can tell you, as for our family, the only disease we have is this. That tells you that it's transgenerational or generational disease, right? As for this family, if we had not been depression, or we will be fine. But everybody seems to, at least every generation, there's depression, there's major depression, or there's anxiety, there's schizophrenia, that becomes transgenerational. But then this information may have come as a result of hearsay, as a result of information passed on from your parents or grandparents to you. So that is another way of finding out if there's a transgenerational disease in your family that is affecting you. All right. And then where does generational poverty and disease come from? So that is where we are going to pitch our discussion for today. And then we will come back and continue this. But I just want to, as a little hint, give you a few of these answers right here. Location, where you live, can tell whether or not you're going to be generational poverty and disease. Your belief system, what you believe. Some people believe in certain things, but I'm not going to give this out right now. I'm not going to give out any of this because we're going to hit this on next week. Your genes, and that we already alluded to, by the way, inherited diseases or hereditary, I should say. And then your choices, which is a big one. Now we're going to talk about how to break free from generational problems in poverty, in money making, as well as in health. But among the things we're going to tackle to deal with them, these are some of them, because these are the places where or the causes that lead to generational disease and um, poverty, generational poverty and disease. Your location, where you live at, your belief system, what you believe, your values, your belief and value system, that can make you either poor, it can make generations generations poor because of what they believe. I don't want to give it away, but at least I'm going to whet your appetite for the next time we meet. Then also genes, what you have inherited. And then lastly, the choices. We'll add more. The choices you make, choices you are making today are going to tell whether or not you're going to pass your generational disease or poverty, financial situation to your children. You will know at the end of this discussion, you will know whether or not you are doing what it takes to break off, stop generational disease and poverty, or if you are saying, I give up, I'm going to push it to my kids, I'm going to push it to the next generation. That will be up to you. And all these things are going to be considered. So, yeah, this is where we're going to end our stream today. But I want you to make sure that you are subscribed if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, because we're going to come again. And as I said, we're going to hit this multiple weeks just to make sure we delve deeper and ensure that we hit the subject very good, because many people are going to are going to find out it takes not much, it doesn't take a lot to break free from uh, years and years of disease, something that has killed family members generations upon generations. You are going to learn how to break free. And then also, you are going to also learn how to make sure you make money and you become the last person. In fact, you are not going to be among the people who have abject poverty anymore. And if any national leader is going to be humble enough to watch us, especially from the developing countries, you can also learn how to lead your people away from generational poverty. In many countries in Africa, poverty has become a symbol of the nation's growth. Everybody thinks Africa is poor, but it's a generational thing that we can break off if we take the right steps. All right. So hit back at us, if it's the right way to say. Make sure you subscribe, basically, so that when we put a notice out there, you can find out, and then we can have time to talk about this. All right. So that is what we have achieved so far. I've already previewed what's coming next week. And if you have any questions, if you have any contributions, make sure you don't forget to bring them up, because we are going to have them all discussed as much as possible. All right. And see, again, if you haven't subscribed to our channel on Dayspring Life and Health, and on YouTube, this is a time for you also to hit that subscribe button. If you are not watching this on YouTube, Facebook, make sure you go to the YouTube channel, YouTube, and search for Dayspring Life and Health, so that you will receive notifications. At some point, we're going to do this only on YouTube within some time to come. But for now, coming your way on multiple channels. So just make sure that at least you get subscribed, so that you don't miss any one of our shows when we come to give you some important information. All right, so this is where we end the show today, and I'm happy you joined us, and you watched and you liked and you commented, and I want to say that, beloved, I wish above all things that you prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for liking.